Alright, peace and greetings, YouTubers. So, Symphonic Euphoria, let's just jump right into it, shall we? If you're unfamiliar, recently I uploaded a video with an album sampler, and it contained clips of all the songs off my latest album / project, Symphonic Euphoria. And so I just wanted to do a video where I talk about, you know, what went into making the album. I'm going to talk about some of the different songs and just basically how I did the entire project, all the behind the scenes. I just want to give tips and do's and don'ts and things for other people who may also be in the process of doing their own project or creating their own album or just working on anything in general. And so, if you follow me, years ago I hinted that I was working on an EP. That was like in 2014. And it just never quite got off the ground because I was doing too many things at the same time. Like I was in the process of, I had just had the web series launch and I was trying to take care of the web series. I was teaching dance again. I was trying to do stand-up comedy at the same time. And then at that time I was looking to relocate. I was in Virginia at that point. I wanted to be back in DC, just going across the bridge, nothing major, but and so there was a whole bunch of different things going on, and initially it kind of just faded in the dust. I just never was able to get back to it. And then around 2015, like a year later, this is just before my father had died, I was like, you know, I think I want to kind of get back into it again. And so I was talking to one of my childhood friends that I grew up with, because they do music. Like, we grew up together. We were both like super tight because we both had a really great appreciation for music. Like, but the difference was they had like the resources and the additional talents to really make music happen for them. For me, I didn't really have the resources to do some of the things I wanted to do. I mean, they had, you know, all the different keyboards. They had built themselves a studio when they were like 18. You know, while I was 18, I was off in school being broke and poor with no money. You know, eating freaking Pop-Tarts and stuff for dinner. And, you know, they were spending their time because they joined the workforce and they were, you know, building the studio and doing all kinds of different things like that. And so the initial plan was, because we'd always collabed and worked together in the past. Like, even when I got out of college and I was home for like a year, you know, we were working on some stuff because we were under the impression that we had a production deal. Like, they would do the music, I would write the songs and do the demos, and we were good. But it wasn't really what it was. We kind of got scammed. And so originally I was going to work on the project with that person. We were kind of brainstorming different ideas, but then things just started happening in life. Like, they lost a relative, and then my father died, and things just kind of happened. We weren't really on the same page, and we just kind of grew apart over time. No hard feelings or anything. We're just in two different spaces. And so then the album kind of got shelved again. And mind you, at this point, nothing has been done. There's not been a song written, nothing. It's just the idea and the concept of having it. And so, you know, I went on with life, and but, you know, after my father died, which was like July 11th of 2015, life just was real different. You know what I mean? Like, my new norm was, I didn't have a new norm because it was like I lived here. My mother was in Seattle. My brother at the time, I think, was in Georgia. Or actually, he was in Seattle, but he was in the Army, so he was kind of, they were moving him around. And I don't know, I was in a place where things just didn't really align. Like, I felt that there was no, I don't want to say purpose, because I had a purpose, but I felt like I wasn't living in it. And at the time, you know, I had been applying for some like grad school programs and stuff, and those weren't really coming out the way I needed them to come out. They were like, nah, you're not getting in. Nope, not for this school. Nope, no. I was like getting rejected from everything. I was like, damn, okay. And so, anyway, I was totally done with the whole album thing, because at this point I was already doing some journalism stuff, like writing for Cinematic magazine, and, you know, I was kind of trying to get back into comedy, and I was putting a lot more effort into this channel, which is why, like, 2016, 2015, you saw a lot of like videos being posted in comparison to how many I'm putting out now, which I'm coming back to now that I'm done with the album. And so what happened was I got a really good tax return. Janet postponed or canceled her tour, and mind you, I spent an arm and a leg for like 3 shows, so the money that I got back, it was good chunk of money I got back. And so I just randomly was like, you know what, I should work on that album. I'm gonna do it. And so I just randomly went to Guitar Center, and, you know, I had the money I made from my tax return, some money I just already been saving up in general, and then the money refunded from my Janet concerts. And I went to the Guitar Center. I was like, hey man, yeah, I'm trying to build a studio. What do I need? Just tell me what it is I need to buy. And listen, I want like high quality. I don't want it to sound like it was made on like, I don't know, it was made on the PlayStation with the microphone that you bought from Kmart. Like, I want it to sound nice as possible with the most reasonable budget. And the guy's like, so you're making a studio? Like, are you in a band? Are you in like, what are you doing? Are you doing live instruments? Are you doing like the guy, like, he had no time for me that day. And I'm like, I just want to make an album. What would I need to build my own studio? I mean, is it like a professional studio, or is it like, are you doing it at home? Is it in a garage? Look, man, I just want to make a studio in my living room, man. What do I need? And so then he was like, oh, okay. And so he comes back with like stuff like stacked this high. And I mean, it was like, he came back, it was like, I had the 2 speakers, and you need like 2, because you need one for the left output and one for the right input. And then, and I just did the wrong hands, but it'll make sense for you guys watching. And then he brought like an interface. I already had an interface, because of the web series, but this interface was a little bit more, I guess it was more high quality, I guess. And then, you know, I purchased Pro Tools. I'm trying to think what else I got. It was a bunch of stuff, man. And then the microphone I wanted was like freaking $1,800 or $1,900. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna come back and get the microphone another day because I ain't got nothing left. And so I had to hustle and, you know, work a few corners to buy that microphone. No, I'm just kidding. I just saved my money. But so initially, when I started the project, I had no idea what to do. Like, mind you, now I already had my own keyboard and everything, so, you know, basically, I'll say I did the entire album through my one keyboard. I ended up buying, like, the drum pad kit and the other little mini keyboard and all this other stuff, and I didn't use none of that. I really just used my same, I think that's a Casio. My same little Casio keyboard I bought in, like, 2011, and I just had it hooked up into the computer, and I did the entire album on that one keyboard. I didn't even use the other stuff that I bought. And so initially when I started, because I didn't have the microphone, I was just kind of making tracks and just trying to figure things out because I wasn't really confident as a producer. I was good with songwriting, but I had never really done a lot of production. You know, I had produced a song or 2 back in the day, and I produced a theme song for my web series, but other than that, production was not my lane. My lane was more so writing, and I think I'm really good at doing background vocals for other people. I think that's my lane. Is like, if I were ever to really push myself in the music industry, I'd want to be a background vocalist. I just think I have a good voice for background. My lead voice is cool, but I really think I have an ear for like doing backgrounds. But anyway, so the first portion from like October through November, December, I was really just kind of playing around, making tracks, you know, getting my ears used to different things and seeing what worked and what didn't, and trying to build different things. And so I made a bunch of different tracks and stuff like that. And then around January is around the time that I had enough money to finally buy the microphone I wanted. And so the microphone I got, I don't know if I have it. Hold on, let me see if I can grab it really quick. So this was the microphone I bought. I forgot what brand it was, guys. So I bought it. It's a, what's it, new main microphone? This thing here. It comes in like a really little special box and everything. They try to make it all fancy. And so, you know, I bought the microphone, and you have to get like the popper that you put in front of the mic. That's that little beehive looking screen thing, so when you're talking and then you don't get all that air caught into the mic. And then you have to get the sound buffer and everything like that. Like, I ended up spending a lot of money that I did not have trying to build a studio, and then, you know, get the headphones because you don't want to record and have the music playing at the same time, or it's all going to go into the mic, unless you really have a really extremely well put together compressor that can block it all out and only take in what you sing into the mic. A whole bunch of layers and stuff like that. And so around January, I was finally ready to record, because what I had been doing was I had been writing the songs to all the tracks that I've been making. I was like, okay, when I get the mic, then I can record it. But then life happened, and somehow I caught pneumonia, and I had a partially collapsed lung in the same lung. And so I was down for the count for all of January and the first half of February. Like, it just hurt to sing. Like, it felt like, I don't know, I can't explain what it feels like, but it hurt so bad to like exhale or inhale. I couldn't really talk very loudly, or you couldn't yell, so at work was terrible. The kids took advantage of that because they knew I couldn't tell them to sit down for nothing. They were having a field day for January and February. It just was a really like painful time period. Like, it hurt to breathe, and I was so short of breath. Like, you couldn't do a whole lot, so I really couldn't sing much then. However, I was stubborn and I was obsessed, and so around like the middle of February, after I was finally starting to get a little better, which didn't help that I had to witness the inauguration like laying down. That was the worst thing ever, because one, I was terrified and just livid with the election results and having to sit there and watch that stupid inauguration. I'm just like, oh, and Trump is over there, you know, law and order, and I'm in the bed. But anyway, so the first song that I think I actually did vocals on was Euphoria. That was one of the first songs I actually made as well. And it was like, and originally, I wasn't planning to record Euphoria the way it is presented to you guys. I was definitely going to sing it a lot, or at least with a lot more conviction and a little bit heavier. But I just honestly physically couldn't do it because of what was going on with my lungs. And so the plan was, well, you know, I'll go ahead and record it this way. This will just be like the demo, and then when I feel a little better, I'll re-record it. But I ended up liking how I recorded it, so I kept it as it is. And then what I ended up doing, the ad-libs at the very end of the song, I actually recorded those later, like once I was much better. Those probably got recorded in like April or May. And so you can tell there's like a really big difference in the delivery of the ad-libs at the end and the delivery of the chorus and the verse on that song. You got my heart, live it up, you got me calling now. Trace into me about somebody, live it up, the way we started, live it up, be it, and call it new. And so that was one of the very first songs that I actually made. Let me actually just go track by track and talk about each song here. So let me see here. Alright, so the first song on the album, of course, is It's Thoughts to Be, the intro. In the beginning, if you hear that woman that's talking, that's my friend Whitney. We went to college and undergrad together. Always been super tight. And so I was like, oh, you should come on this. You should come on my album with me. And we were just playing around. Originally, we didn't know what we were doing as far as her piece. And I was like, you know what? Listen, I'm gonna just turn the mic on. You do whatever you want to do, and we'll make it work. And so when you hear like that poem she randomly threw together, she was like spitting that from the top of her head.
Summertime tunes, wintertime blues.
And so I just added some random music behind it, made it fun. But like the actual song, I think I made the track in like a day, and then I recorded the chorus first. I had the chorus first because I didn't know if I was gonna like sing it or rap it. Because one, I wasn't planning to do any rapping anywhere on this album, but I was like, you know, that would be kind of cool for like an opening to kind of maybe rap the song, because people wouldn't expect that from me because I'm such a cornball.
Still on the voice trying to find the answers. Got slapped by my mom because I mocked the pastor. But as the world turns around in limbo, all I want to say is the album intro.
This is my, this is my words and thoughts to be.
They'd be like, Michael, please. And so I was like, oh, I think that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm gonna rap. And so, you know, I rapped the opening. That was a fun little song. It pays a little homage to Jodeci's Get On Up towards the end. There's a part in the song where I'm talking about Live It Up, Don't Hurt Nobody. The melody is kind of inspired from Jodeci's Get On Up. And so that's kind of where I was going with that. Originally, I had some elements of that song in there. I was like, okay, I'm not trying to be sued. So I took all that out and just kind of did my own thing. So that's that song. The next song, Atomic. Atomic was actually one of the later songs added to the album. Like, honestly, most of the album that you hear was probably recorded between late March and as late as July 28th of this year. And then everything before that I got rid of. Pretty much the only original songs that made the cut were Euphoria, To You and More, the song I did for my father, and High Tide. Those were like the only four that actually made the original cut. Those are the only four that were made, you know, between October, November, early December, and actually made the cut. I probably did about 45 songs, and I kept 17 of them, and then I had 5 interludes. But going back, so Atomic was one of the later ones added. I was actually coming back from my friend's party, and in my car I had on LL Cool J's Phenomenon, and I was like, dang, I need a song that just like, it just has some like bass cranking, and it's just like super funky, and it would sound like really good in the car. And so I was like, when I got home, I was like, I need to make something that has that kind of element. Now Atomic sounds nothing like LL Cool J's Phenomenon, but just the idea of something that's really upbeat and just funky with some kick. And so that song was really fun to record because I really enjoyed doing all the different layering and the different vocals on that one. And so I think I recorded that song over the span of like 4 or 5 days. And I know my neighbors hated my guts, by the way, like, because I put the studio in my living room and I put it in a corner away from the wall that would be where my neighbor's bedroom is, because I used to have it all set up on their bedroom wall, but you'd be like, it would be like 8 in the morning because I would get up ready, recorded, and the music is and you hear the beating on the wall. Pop, 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 pop. I'll give them a free copy of the album, by the way. But Atomic was a fun one to record. It has, in my head, if you could put together like a Robin Thicke and Prince kind of song, that's what I get when I hear like the verses.
Yeah, yeah, just my atomic, so bright to see, more that you find it. so good to me. I'll keep the promise that I'll always place you first and so you lose. A thrill you bring, can't help myself. Your chocolate shade, it makes my hunger sing. From the way you sway, let me push replay. Let your bugger rain in your clouds.
I think it's a fun song. It just has lots of energy to it. It might be one of the songs I try to push a little bit. I think it's a little bit more commercially appealing than some of the other songs. But it's a song. It's really a fun song. Honestly, that's all I can say about it. It's just a fun song.
Just sweet like honey, thanks to the heat. Let's go for Friday, taste of the streets. Drop all your worries, come on, hurry, cause we're high above the streets. I feel no strings, just give yourself. Tell me all the things you need to see. Let me take away from the world you.
And next track was Euphoria. We kind of already talked about that one. The inspiration behind that one was basically Morris Day and the Time, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Prince again. There's a lot of Prince in this album. Like, I was telling somebody, I feel like this album is a combination of, if you could get Prince, Michael, and Janet to kick it together and just vibe out and do some music together, maybe this is kind of the lane that they would go in. Like, this is the vibe I got from a lot of the album. But Euphoria was heavily inspired by Morris Day and the Time and the whole Prince sound. As far as the thing with like the cymbals hitting the, you know, that was really mid-80s, early 80s Prince, Morris Day and the Time kind of sound I was going for. And then I also was inspired, Janet has a song called Night on the Unbreakable album. And so it was basically Night meets Prince's Baby I'm a Star meets Prince's 17 Days meets Morris Day and the Times, Fishnet and the Bird and Chocolate and 777. Wait, what's the song? Oh Lord. 777 11. I think this song I'm messing it up. It's like it was like a mix of those kind of. The next song, To You and More. That's probably one of my favorites on the album. I am obsessed with New Jack Swing. It's such a golden era of R&B music from the late 80s to the early 90s. I just love everything about New Jack Swing. It takes me back to being a child and being at some of the little summer barbecues and stuff when we were little, and 4th of July fireworks and hot dogs, and we were playing baseball. We played stickball with the big wood stick. Like, man, I just have flashbacks to all that when I hear like New Jack Swing songs. I just remember where I was. And so I have always wanted to do a New Jack Swing song. Even when I was still, you know, working with my friend from back home and we were like coming up with ideas and stuff, before I even ever thought of even doing an EP or an album, you know, I was like, oh, can we please do a New Jack Swing song? And they're like, you know, nobody do a New Jack Swing song. And that was like 2009, 2010 when I was begging to do a New Jack Swing song. And so I was like, well, now that I'm doing my own album, I was like, oh, I'm going to do one. And then I was like, this would be tight because nobody's really done that lately. And then Bruno Mars came out with Finesse. I was like, mind you, I already had mine recorded. I was like, dang, man, Bruno stole my lane, but that's okay. So that song, To You and More, was one of the first ones I recorded as well. I did the music really early. I did the music around October, November. I didn't record it, though, until probably February. And it was actually one of the first songs that, along with Euphoria, that was actually recorded. So I was still learning a lot about like Pro Tools and how to do things. And so there was lots of trial and error with that song and Euphoria. There's probably like 15 different versions of Euphoria and 15 different versions of To You and More. There was a version of To You and More with me rapping on it, but I took it off. And the ad-libs changed a million times. And so To You and More is a song where it's pretty much homage to Karen White's The Way I Feel About You, Janet's Alright, and Prince's Sign of the Times. It's like those three songs together. It's kind of like, that's what I get when I listen to You and More. That's kind of the vibes I get. That's what I was inspired by. And so it's you know, it's hard hitting. You got those really hard synthetic sounding drums that were really popular in the late 80s, early 90s, and then lots of bass line and then the piano chords. And the reason I said I think it has the whole Janet Alright thing is in there, as I pretty much say alright. Then also the blended vocals that I do at the end of the song, the little ooh-ah kind of, I was like, yeah, this is real Janet-ish kind of. And so I love that song. It has a whole bunch of funk to it. It has some kick. Like the entire first half of the album is pretty much just a straight party. I purposely made sure that when you put the album on, it's just, you should be bopping your head and rocking your shoulders for like the whole first half of the album before we get into the more serious songs and the songs that are a little bit more laid back.
Say I'm your kind of fine, crazy, way too complicated to define. Your heart you put a lock and then you caged it, blocking all them people, it's a crime. And everybody's still on zero, trying to figure how to raise up their score. Tossing numbers, losing names, pay your rent, so when you see them for sure.
So, Meant to Be. Meant to Be was a song that wasn't even supposed to happen. It was basically, it was born out of another song that I was making. I was working on another song that didn't make the album. And I was trying to put in my little guitar riff, and I did like a and I said, I like that riff, but I don't like that sound, and I don't think I want it on this song. And so a cool thing about Pro Tools is that you can take, you know, say you have a keyboard sound effect, and that's the sound you want to use. You're using some kind of keyboard sound. There's an option to add 3 other instruments into that sound and merge them together. And so you can get like a keyboard, a maraca, a guitar, and tambourine, and merge them together, and it'll make a new sound. Kind of like building your own synthesizer, which is pretty much what they used to have to do in the 80s before keyboards were really popping. And so I made my own, you know, I adjusted the sound, and then it wasn't so much guitar oriented, but it was more of a funkier sound, and then, you know, and then from there I added like the drums and everything, and then, you know, I had a whole loop and I had a totally different song, and so I forgot about the original song I was working on, and I started working on this one, and I could play with the music a little bit more, and I made it more dance hall oriented, because I was like, oh yeah, let's kind of make this a little bit more dance hall sounding, like kind of dance hall, kind of West African, a little bit of both, but without me, I guess, being a culture vulture and snatching their sound. I kind of did my own thing, and so it was kind of a cool track. I paid homage to Aaliyah with how I did the melody of the chorus. It's kind of homage to Rock the Boat. There was initially another song that also didn't make the album that was more pretty much an ode to Aaliyah, because I really liked what she did with her slow songs and her mid-tempos, especially songs like Rock the Boat, Can I Come Over, some of those other slower songs that are on the 1 in a Million album. Really liked what she did with a lot of those. And so there was another song called There's Only One, but I didn't put it on the album. Maybe I'll do something later down the line with it. And so I didn't use that one. And so that's kind of where the melody for Meant to Be kind of comes from as far as the hook. And then I'm really a big fan of Tweet. I love Tweet. I love what she does with her vocals and backgrounds. And so when you hear those yeahs at the yeah, that's kind of basically, I really like her song Boogie Tonight. It's off the Southern Hummingbird album. And so basically it's the same idea that she did on the yeahs on that is what I did on mine. I was like, yeah, well, that's my Tweet homage. And so that song is, I like that song because it's a lot of different things going on. So it's a whole lot going on in that song. It's kind of busy, but it's like a good busy. And like, what I have noticed about this album is it sounds really good cranked up loud. Like the whole album is like a lot, especially the first half, is a straight party. If you have the speakers just blaring, it just sounds really good for some reason. It sounds really good in the car as well too. But yeah, so that was a fun song that I put together. And initially I also had like a rap piece, and I took it off because I was like, okay, you're doing a little bit too much rapping and you're not a rapper, so let's not have every song have a rap portion. Let's not spit bars on every song. So I took that off.
Come on. Hit the top 'cause we made it. Hit the top 'cause we made it. Guarantee you and me do agree.
Come on and just
rockin' to the beat.
Come on and just
Rockin' to the beat.
The next song is Get Down. Get Down is another song that happened on accident. I was supposed to be going out that night, and I was getting ready to go. My friend was being super late, because, you know, we don't ever do nothing on time. And so I was just sitting on the keyboard playing around, just and I was like, wait, this kind of sounds good. And before you know it, I had made like a whole little drum beat, because originally it was just this drum beat, and then it was like the I was like, I was like, oh, this kind of sounds good. I like this. And so I ended up making it a full track. And then, you know, I went ahead and did the vocals or the lyrics and everything for it. There's not really a lot of heavy vocals on that song. It's pretty much a party song. It's a fun song. I think it's a little bit more commercially appealing than some of the other songs. If I were to push another song, it might be this one. And it's just a fun song. Just about, you know, two people that meet at a club and they just want to kick it, hang. it is what it is. And it's a fun song. I like it. It has like an 80s vibe, but it's still current. It kind of reminds me of like some of the songs that used to come out back then. Like if you remember MC Luscious, it was like this rapper girl. She had some song called Boom, I Got Your Boyfriend. On that album, she has another song. I can't remember what it's called. It's called like It's My Thing or something. It reminds me of that song. And then LL Cool J's Going Back to Cali, and hell, a few other songs. It kind of gives me that vibe, but it's funky, it's fun. I like that it's really simple, it's short, straight to the point. I feel like it's just ear candy. It's a fun song. And I really like what I did with the vocals as far as the different layers that I did.
She wanna get down, she really wanna get down. She wanna get down, she really wanna get down. Like get it, 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 girl. Get it, 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 girl. She wanna get down, she really wanna get down.
The next song, oh, I think I skipped one. I certainly did. Fast Lane comes before Get Down. Fast Lane is one of probably my favorite songs that I did as far as recording. That was the one I had the most fun recording. Fast Lane is inspired by a bunch of different sounds and really inspired by what was going on in the 70s. The Emotions, probably one of my favorite girl groups from the past. I think their legacy is kind of slept on. People kind of forget about how great they were. And I don't know if that's because, you know, when they initially came out, the Supremes were the say-all-be-all of music at the time. And then by the time they fell off, girl groups weren't really super huge by the time you got to the 80s, and girl groups didn't really become a thing again until almost the 90s. And so The Emotions had an album called, I think it's Step Into Our World, Welcome Into Our World, something like that. It was the album that came after Rejoice. Well, there was Rejoice, and then there was another album that came right after Rejoice everybody forgot about, and then this album. But long story short, Rejoice was like this huge era. That's the one with Best of My Love and Don't Ask My Neighbor. So The Emotions were Say All Be All. But then, you know, the Disco Sucks movement happened, because at this point it's 1979, and so they had the big Disco Sucks riots, and you know, a lot of the disco artists are being blacklisted. And I talked about this in my R&B is Dead Part 6, I think, if you want that backstory about just disco and what happened to a lot of black artists after that time period. Go back about 60 videos to find it. And so when they came out with, you know, Welcome to Our World, or I think it's Welcome to Our World or Step Into Our World, it just didn't catch on. And like Maurice from Earth, Wind & Fire, I think, produced the whole project, and it's a good little project, but there was a song on it called I Should Be Dancing. And the song is extremely funky. I love the drum little riff that's on the whatever they did. And so I was like, I kind of like that. I want a song that has a kind of funky drum riff like that. And so I made my own kind of drum riff, not the same as theirs, because I don't want people to think I'm stealing nobody's stuff, but I kind of did my own thing as far as a similar thing with the tempo. And then I really like Katy Perry's Birthday, of all songs to like. I know, don't judge, but it's a fun song. And so I was like, I like the whimsical element of Katy Perry's Birthday. And I was like, well, I think this song should be kind of whimsical like that. Like, it should just be a fun song. Because, you know, the thing about, unfortunately for a lot of men in R&B, is everybody's afraid to just have fun. Everything has to be so hardcore, so thugged out, because everybody's afraid of what other people may say about them, or it might affect their image, or they're not hardcore enough, or they don't have any street cred. But listen, I'm from Seattle. There's no street cred in that period, so it is what it is. And so that song is inspired by The Emotions, I Should Be Dancing, Katy Perry's Birthday, also Patrice Rushen's Haven't You Heard. I love that song. If you're not familiar with that song, that's also the same song Kurt Franklin sampled when he did Looking For You. So at the end of the song, you hear that dun 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 dun. That's kind of that Patrice Rushen homage. And then as far as what I did with some of the background vocals, I was inspired by Earth, Wind & Fire's, what Maurice used to do with Earth, Wind & Fire, as far as the background vocals. Like Earth, Wind & Fire was a group where they didn't do a lot of heavy belting, they did a lot of head voice singing and a lot of falsetto. And that's pretty much me summed up. I don't really do a lot of belting because I don't really think I have a belting voice. You know, when you're a part of the Thin Voice Singers Club, there's only so much you can do as far as belting, because you'll start sounding like a 12-year-old boy. And so I don't like singing way up there and singing that heavily, because I don't really care for how it sounds. So I like to use my falsetto because I think that's the lane that works for me, and I like my head voice. So I think that song is just ear candy, just straight sugar. And then some people are like, oh, you know, the song is kind of long, because, you know, the song could have ended in like 3 minutes, but then there's like another 45 seconds of just a music break with the music just jamming and playing and all the little synthesizers and chords and stuff going. And that's kind of just paying homage to some of the creativity that used to take place in the 70s and the 80s, as far as when people would have a single and you'd have the 12-inch single, and that would be, you know, the song might have initially only been 3 or 4 minutes, but the 12-inch single was like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 minutes long, because, you know, those were the versions they were playing at the clubs or the discos or Studio 54 or whatever else they did. And so that's that homage for that. Plus, I think Fastlane is like one of the last songs on the album that is more upbeat and just light before you get into more of the serious songs. So it's like, well, let's just have a really fun little party break before we start going into the more serious songs.
Trust in everlasting words from my heart. Merging to the fast lane, trying to get to my love. Got to get to my love. Get to your love, so sweet. Trust in everlasting.
The next song is The Edge. And The Edge is a song, it was one of the later ones added to the project. I don't remember what inspired it, but I feel like I had to be listening to something with Prince. Like I said, there's a lot of Prince in this album. Again, this album is a whole lot of Michael, Prince, and Janet mixed together. If you could put them three in the blender, that's where the inspiration came from. I'm guessing I was listening to Prince 17 Days, which is a really great song. It's a B-side to When Doves Cry. I think I was listening to that song and a few other things. And so it just, and maybe Brandy's Sweet Nothings, which is a really good B-side, by the way. If you've never heard that song, it's an awesome song. I wish she would have put that on 211, but I mean, that song was already like 4 or 5 years old by the time 211 came out. But I think it was a combination of Brandy's Sweet Nothings and Prince's 17 Days as far as just the drums. And then as far as the music, there was a lot going on with that song. It was a fun song because there's almost like two different songs in the same song. The first half of the song is really different from the second half. The same can be said for To You and More. Like I think with The Edge, you know, it's a song that's just singing about not being afraid to step out of your box or step out of your lane. And literally a lot of the songs in this project I literally wrote for myself. Like I was giving my own self my own message, just telling myself about different things. So when you're hearing like there's a verse on there where it's talking about what is it? Feeling like your days are numbered, thinking you're too old. Scared to push the edge of comfort, won't grow your status quo. That's kind of me just talking about, okay, I'm 29, you know, and sometimes I feel like, those my birthday balloons, I just had a birthday. Sometimes I always feel like, man, there's some windows that have closed for me because I didn't jump on the ball with certain things. Now I'm a little too old to be doing certain things. So, you know, some of those doors are closing. And then I was like, no, not really. There's a lot of people who are doing certain things at whatever age, and it's really not even about, you know, age is just honestly a number. It's about your hustle and how you can connect with people and network and make things happen. So that song was literally written to myself. And I think it's a message that can go to other people as well. And that's why it's talking about like never gonna quit, you know, you recommit and you can't stop and all that kind of thing like that. So it's just a fun song. And you know, what do you say when you're so scarred, and what do you say when you miss the stars? Are you gonna stop or are you gonna keep going? And so that's pretty much what that song is about. It was a really fun song to record. There's a few other elements. I think there was some more. Oh, it was also kind of inspired by Janet's Love Will Never Do Without You. Originally, when the song ended, when you hear the end of the song, I see the part like the We Got Work to Do, and then it just does that bass and the drum thing again. Originally, I had added like some synth with a similar melody to the end of Love Will Never Do Without You with the little bunch. And I was like, okay, I don't want it to sound like a blatant copy of another song, so I took it off. But hey, if I'm ever in a position to perform the song live, listen, when the band does an encore of that song, that's exactly what I'm going into. And so that's The Edge. It's a fun song. A lot of people really like that one as well, which is pretty cool.